Okay, folks, I think we're going to go get started. Wanted to first let you all know that we are having this meeting being recorded. So your name, your email address, and maybe even your phone number, depending on what you put in through Microsoft, may be available and viewable to other folks in this attendee list. And also, if you reply back with any of the chats, that is a public chat. And again, it will be recorded. So just want to keep your mind on that. Um, by joining this experience, you're agreeing to be recorded. Anybody that doesn't want that, you could please drop off now. All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you all for joining, first of all, depending on where I have the pleasure in speaking to you with. We are excited. We have a lot of things that are going on here. For the northeast of US where I'm based, it's almost springtime. It officially is, but weather up here tends to drag a little bit. But with new seasons and new ventures also come new releases. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Some nice new ways for you to get in there and have a real truly integrated experience in and around collaborative or collective project teams. I also want to let you know, please stay on to the end. There will be one slide for all of you that are attending this live today. Microsoft is going to give you a fun little gift, and it's going to be the last slide. It will be cut out of the recording. So if you want a little fun gift from Microsoft, make sure you stay to the end, and you're going to be able to see that. Well, again, let's jump in here. So today, many organizations across the board, like yours, are looking to either collaborate, increase visibility, extend across many varieties of tools. From Satya, when he joined, 8 years ago, really said, "Hey, Microsoft should be an envelope. We should bring in all these disparate tools as long as they're staying on our platform, and we." Have the onus of making the user experience not only easy, but effective, quick, and fun to use. So they've been doing that. And Microsoft platform allows, not only leaders of your organization to see visibility across and gain powerful insights, but also, from a project management perspective, for those project managers that are on here, the capabilities that allow our project teams to do their work more efficiently. We're going to be talking about that. So those are the team members might be ever changing. It might be coming in, coming out. So how do we actually get a handle on some of that? How is Microsoft for Project for Web helping with this, as well as the overall Microsoft tool set? So again, that's what we're going to be taking a look at through this really extensive platform and integrations. We'll talk about some pieces, you'll go through that. We really want to get a handle on not only what you're using today, so we can talk towards that, but what are we commonly seeing across the organization? So then you can take these recording or actually the points, the benefits that we're going to be talking about and say, I wonder if my organization could use that today. Can we get or aspire to be there? Maybe we need to show the she's and the he leadership of a vision of where Microsoft is going. And that's what we want to paint together. Again, a connective, immersive, collaborative tool for an organization. So our learning objectives are really, we're going to show you some cool things that popped up with Project for the Web. So I want to make sure that you all have that. Then we're going to switch and we're really going to get into really understanding that connective project team experience so you can share all that information. And lastly, we like to take this from a persona perspective. So as far as the persona goes, am I a resource manager, portfolio manager, et cetera, you'll be able to come in there and really see how you can do things and recognize where you might actually have some time savings in there. Again, I mentioned it at the beginning, but I'm going to say it one more time. Please stay on to the very last slide. Microsoft is giving you folks a fun little gift, and it's only going to be for those available that are in person today. Unfortunately, if you're listening to this recording, thank you for listening to the recording, but there'll only be one last slide at the end. So who are we? Well, my name is Jacques Goupil. Thanks again for being here. I've been with PPM Works for over 10 years, specializing assisting our clients with strategic portfolio, project management vision, as well as everyday tactical day-to-day work. And it's this tactical work that really brings us to our topic today and understanding how can we have a collective team and be able to use Microsoft Teams and Task for Teams and things like Planner and Project for Web. Since my days early on with Gillette and General Dynamics, helping them to create a PMO back when the word PMO was okay to say out loud, well, we have turned now to a place where we, the users, are pushing information at such an incredible pace, right? And we need to be flexible, but we still need to get things done and we have to track these. So we still need those tools. So it is my great pleasure to be working with so many smart, forward-thinking leaders that I've come in contact with, and we are extremely fortunate to have one of those leaders with us today. Jeff and I have spent several hours designing both large and small systems for clients across the country and really across many different functionalities, capabilities, and industries. Jeff's knowledge, analytical engineering background, and really his quest for simplicity is by far the best I've seen and remarkable. Jeff is not only a peer of us, Microsoft peer at PPM Works, but he's a true champion on everything Microsoft that we have. And we asked Jeff to come here today, not only to start this conversation about the connected project team from all his experience as being a project SSP, but also what's new with Microsoft. So I know there are a couple things that popped up even last week from Microsoft. So I'm going to switch it over to Jeff for a nice introduction on the connected project team. Jeff, good morning.
Yeah. Thanks, Jacques. So great to speak with everybody. And yeah, there's so much going on. And first of all, the profile pic there for me is I can't remember the last time I wore a suit and a tie, so that must be quite an old photo. I appreciate that. I look much better there. Yeah, a lot going on in Microsoft world and in technology in general. Um, I think one of the sayings you might see at a fortune cookie is the only thing constant is change, and if there wasn't change, there wouldn't be butterflies. So it's all good stuff, right? Taking us higher and making things better. But yeah, I think Jacques kind of alluded to a lot of the neat stuff going on. So the big Microsoft news is with regard to OpenAI and all of the things we're doing publicly around that. The GBT models, which are actually the cognitive engines underneath the AI models, are being made available in some preview and test scenarios now within the business app area. And first and foremost, that's going to be directed to the what we would have historically called the productivity tools or the office apps, Exchange and email and PowerPoint and Excel and all of those things. So it's incredibly um, breakthrough stuff. I mean, really, it's moving from DOS to Windows to now this AI model. It's the first time ever that any of the processing power has been used to move from data and transactional thought to cognitive work, meaning that it's truly going to influence the way we need to think about things. And it's not all, day one, but it's certainly a fulcrum to put us on a different trajectory, which is exciting. So keep an eye out. There's some great webcasts already on that from Satya and others. It's something you want to keep track of. Um, the second thing I would speak to is stuff that's much more real time and right now is the Power Platform at Microsoft, which is really the underpinnings of the Project for Web environment that Jacques and his team will share with you. The things that we can do with pre-built models within Power Apps, whether that's for project management, whether that's for reaching out to the edge worker, or maybe even automating those tasks that are less than productive for the project management organization. Power Apps have been around now for 3 to 5 years, and in combination with Teams and our new format for work, are really transforming the way project delivery, um, executive decision making is being done. And as part of that Power Platform, if you haven't really experienced Power BI and how to use dashboards and publishing of reports in a persona-based model and being able to configure and offer up information that is truly useful to people from both your project management applications, your business applications, and anything else that, lends to why you're doing projects. Spend that time with the Power Platform and Power BI and make sure that the way you offer up information is changing as fast as the purpose for your projects. The biggest thing that you'll want to hear about going forward is something called Copilot. Copilot is actually going to be the fabric between all of the productivity apps at Microsoft. So it's actually going to help you suggest how to best approach complex tasks. So that's kind of what's been going on here. The big three, everything AI, the term internal to Microsoft with productivity is Copilot, the GBT engine underneath that. The second one is Power Platform. And then the third one is just the team's environment and how, as Jock said, it's our responsibility to bring forward all of this great application stuff and put it into the handheld. And the handheld for business collaboration is Teams, very much like you might have an iPhone. The iPhone itself, when you pull it out of the box after picking it up from AT&T or Sprint or wherever you got it, it has some core apps that are certainly helpful, but it's all those other apps and all the other things you're putting onto it that make it useful. So that's really what we're looking for going forward from our partners like PPM Works. So Jacques, you want to next slide it? So, modern project management, boy, if it's 2 years later, everything has changed again. And we are coming out of this very difficult time for all of us personally, emotionally, and business-wise to getting back to a new normal. It's not the way we used to be. It's a new normal. The number one thing that I've always offered, and as Jacques commented on, is the simplicity starts by building the big picture. So very often the project management organization is constantly trying to balance the three legs of the stool: financials, resources, and schedules. If you're not able to cast a broad enough view or big picture across all the work, the portfolio, the programs, the projects, and the tasks in a way that represents the investments, the resources, and the scheduling associated to those, to some extent, much of your effort will always be trying to align or identify why the gaps are existing. So the first and foremost is we continue to build products that allow that big picture to be constructed. And the other thing is shared. So your team's environment should be really the place you're bringing that to the masses so that they know, whether executive leadership or the people doing delivery, they need to have that same picture. So that's the first thing. The other thing we recognize, the next two boxes, is just the way people want to work. First and foremost, we're not necessarily, doing the traditional 9 to 5, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, 7 to 9, whatever window of work you represent. It's 24/7 now, so it's more than ever important that the project for web, the team's environment, those threaded discussions become assets for you to make decisions about the success of what the nature of work, the culture, the status of the project, all of those things, that's caught up in the fabric of what we now use threaded discussions and chats and note taking in OneNote along with the project schedule. Those things are vitally important. And specifically, I'll throw out the millennial culture, is they're going to go there first. They're not picking up the phones. They're not reaching back to managers and things like that. I think we all need to do a little better in the new digital world to do more one-on-one conversations, but that threaded discussion, those OneNotes, those PowerPoints, and Power BI reports are ways that we now know the success of projects. It's not Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Even in the sprint world, we're not meeting as those teams as we once did before some of the other changes to our work world. And then on the bottom, the first and foremost thing of Microsoft is everything we do. We need to be very conscious of permanent team members, employees, and guest members to projects that we're in a highly compliant. There's a lot of governance and compliance information being shared. just to successfully deliver projects in healthcare and utilities and manufacturing, whatever it might be. And that's the one thing Microsoft will never compromise on, is it is going to be a single stack. We're open to work with third-party tools, but that governance and security and trust is something we won't compromise on, and it is built throughout the entire productivity stack at Microsoft. Next slide there, Jacques. So really my three levels of what I encourage a project management office or a executive or director that's trying to build a work and project management process is to focus in on three key elements, and where you can create fluidity and success in these three areas, they come together to make a very powerful project process or program. The first is collaborative work management. At any point in time, if it's difficult to do something, you're going to have to recognize that those plays aren't going to get run, or they're not going to get run the way that the process is designed. So, being able to create a very collaborative work environment that's seamless, that's less friction, things like that, is always investment in time well spent. If you find that people are creating workarounds, revisit the collaborative work environment first and say, is there a better way to maybe bring us all together digitally? The second thing is all projects have objectives, and objectives are always aligned to a team, a department, or a line of business. In most cases, programs, they may roll up to something that is a strategic initiative for the company, but typically the objectives are very pragmatic to a team, a department, or a line of business level. You need to make sure that you're giving those persons visibility and status, if not on a constant basis, on a very frequent real-time basis, because the uncertainty of status is really what drives a lack of support for the resources necessary to sustain the momentum in projects. One of my favorite metaphors offered to me by someone was, it's very difficult to steer a train that's not moving. And by providing the team, the sponsors, and the directors visibility and status, they're going to keep putting coal in the train and moving it along if they know that you're making progress. And then the last one is your strategic portfolio management. It's one of my biggest pet peeves or biggest suggestions, is constantly reevaluating the performance and the results of the projects that are in flight, and recognizing the sequence of priority. And if you're very good, maybe even turning off certain projects that aren't delivering the results and reallocating that effort to other projects. I have constantly asked, within the first three questions of meeting with project management organizations or executives that fund them, when was the last time you slowed down or changed the course or terminated a project? And if the answer is we don't do that, it basically means at some point your prioritization is out of whack, because there's obviously change in the business. Therefore, there needs to be change in your portfolio. So that's really how I look at the world. We're under constant change. I think, the AI and the GBT models that are coming out right now are the equivalent of moving from DOS to Windows. So it's going to change the way we work dramatically. But there's many practical things we can do on the Power Platform, and I think Project for Web and Teams are the real new tools in the project management tool set from Microsoft. So, Jock, that's what I wanted to share. I'm happy to listen in and see what your teams here want to help out with. So thanks.
One wonderful, Jeff. Hey, thanks for a great overview, not only what's coming down the pipe from Microsoft, but also, again, like I said in the beginning, Jeff's rich experience having those conversations with the she's and the he leadership, all the way down to the doers, again, is really what we're talking about today. And in doing so, wanted to sort of bring what we're talking about, what we call a connective project team experience. Okay. It's basically, what can you use in the Microsoft arsenal that's out there that maybe you haven't been using today, or you haven't been using as effectively as you could. Now, there's a lot on this wheel. Okay. But there are other tools as well. But best practices when we're working with organizations, top down or bottoms up, doesn't matter which way you slice it. People are in there, they're using Teams, just like we're today, recording things that Jeff and I mentioned earlier, making sure that everything is getting driven to the data. And the nice, cool thing about what Jeff was saying about Copilot and some of these other products that are coming out, imagine the tool set that you're going to have to search your own repository. That's the big thing that Microsoft's doing here. So every time you use Teams to record a meeting, every time you're putting, hey, I will do this next, even in Outlook today, right? If you say, hey, Jeff, I'll follow up with you tomorrow, guess what happens? It says, right? Cortana comes in and says, "Hey, did you reach back out to Jeff? You said you were going to do something." Don't really tell you what all the time, but it does say, "Hey, back in this email, you said tomorrow you're going to do something," and then it refreshes your mind. So the same thing, the power of AI and the power of movement is going to continue. And how can you get started today? Well, we want to make sure that you're using all the tools, even at a starting point, to make sure that everybody on your project team is not only involved and they know what they're working with, but also that it's easy for them. You're not forcing this upon people. You're saying, hey, this is how we're currently going to manage this project. And oh, by the way, I'm open, I'm collective, right? Debbie, if you have an idea for me, let's hear it. You know, and what Jeff said about 24 hours 7, that doesn't mean we're all working 24/7. That just means we might be working in little chunks here, there, or a straight, 8-hour shift. Doesn't really matter. But I can always go into the project. I can always go into the communication, right? The team's chats that are there and do some searching. And that's sort of the technology that's coming. So we already talked about on the left-hand side, sort of bringing projects. So project for the web, teams for tasks for teams, and planner. These are some really good tools that people are using for tactical work. So the delivery teams that are out there really taking a look at work management in this sort of green pie piece, if you will, this triangle here. And for those that don't know, Project for the Web is a cloud-based management tool that helps teams not only plan, manage projects, but really do. It is the next version of if folks were using Project Standalone, that old, desktop version. So if you don't know about that, we'll put some links here at the end. You can get into that. It's a great new tool, drag and drop capability, Gantt charts, Kanban boards. I'm going to show you a few things. I also want to show you what's new for some of you. Is like, oh yeah, we've been using that for many years, or oh, I've heard of it, but it didn't have, you know, uh, um, an assignment view. Well, today I'm going to show you that assignment view. And then, as far as other things like transparency and allowing people visibility to get into the tools, whether you're managing your project in the tool, Project for Web, an exterior tool that you might like, Excel, a lot of people use SharePoint, other competitive tools, okay, that are coming in. You can bring all that in a platform, and we'll talk about a few of those coming up. But you still can communicate and you still can get all of it if you have a platform that takes all the information and layers it into sections by persona. So I'm a team member. What do I need to see? We're going to talk about tasks for teams. Perfect for that. Okay. Planner, right? A really quick and easy tool to use as well. We'll talk about how you can see that all in one area. So again, the better decision making capability you have is really based on the real time data that you have. And really, let's just simplify this whole thing called project management and let people do the work that they need to do so then we can see the information. Going around the tunnel or the wheel here on the right, my right hand side at least, is it sponsors in that area, the yellow. This is where you're going to elevate and really bring up that data, right? You've probably already heard about Power BI, Power Apps that are out there. This whole Power Platform, Power Automate is another one that's going to do workflow for you. We're going to show you some reports today. Hopefully you have those. There are a lot of free reports from Microsoft that are out there. So the reports that I will showing will be a combination of free ones, and you should get them today, and also ones that you can go out to partners like us, PPM Works, if you'd like, or others. Um, it is really to drive that visibility. And then you circle back. And at my intro, I talked about creating PMOs and creating the strategy. Um, that's where that governance is going to happen across our our entire organization, the enterprise. And there are some other things that have been coming out, so I want to talk about those too. But Viva Goals is one of those. If you haven't heard of the Viva platform, okay, Viva Goals is a part or a module, if you will, within Microsoft Viva that helps people track, set, and really achieve different goals. You might have heard of OKRs, objectives and key results, similar. Really, what that's going to do is just highlight the progress and tracking and how people are doing based on goals. And if you have a centralized project system that's bringing in from all these areas, then you very easily could then use tools like Viva Goals and other things that are coming out, different modules, to align not only across the organization, but also you can go exterior, right? And we can start increasing engagement, motivation, if you will, for people to get work done and to be on your projects. Project managers, if you're out there, you want to have an exciting project that's easy for people to learn on, so you can give them the knowledge base after. It's easy to communicate on, and then everybody's pulling in the same direction, in your direction. So if something turns red, no problem. We all knew about that because we were tracking risks and issues already, and that just became uh, a risk to an issue. So we do want to be participatory and hear from you. And right now we're going to set up a poll. So within Teams, you'll see a poll that's going to come up for Heather. It's on the right-hand side. So that's going to post. And really what we're looking to do is understand what tools you're using today from what we were just talking about. How do you manage your tasks? How do you update? How do you collaborate? Things like that. And you can go ahead and just enter your response there, and it will go ahead and populate. And what we'll get is see a bunch of these things come through. All right, I see a bunch of responses. Thank you. Oh, beautiful. So I got teams, and what we're doing is a little word. All right, there it goes. So a cool little thing here again, collaborative with your organization, within your projects, fun little things you could do during those time and true status report meetings that you sit in for half hour each week. Make it fun. So here's another example: using polls, being able to be creative. Okay, so I see some external things like ServiceNow, Jira, Teams, absolutely, task teams, great. Perfect. So this is all really good. And what we're going to talk about is really taking all these pieces. So every little word that you see on here, now you can bring into uh, the Microsoft solution, and you really get your project to be cranking. So you just saw your little word chart. Here's something that we did a pre-poll on our last one. A lot of folks similar to what you had, right, was using Excel and Outlook, Teams and PowerPoint. You could throw up a few of those competitors in there too. And that's really typical and standard for a lot of organizations. The amount of different tools that's being used across not only your group, but within your organization, it's a little bit baffling, but you understand that, whether you're an IS or not, people see a tool, they like it, they bring it in. Well, we want to encourage that as well. So now I want to sort of hone down a little and specifically talk about the pieces that we're going to show today. And why I'm doing this, I really want to just understand, which ones you're sort of using, if you're using any of these, and you can just select. In this case, looks like probably the one that you're using the most out of these four or five, I think. And that will be really helpful for us to make sure that we're capturing some of those. Let me see. Okay, they're bouncing around here. So a lot of planner, a lot of tasks for teams, great. Project for the web. We're going to show you some new things here in Project for the Webs. A few of you are using Viva Goals, like we talked about, a big bulk with Project Online as well. Now we're going to talk about, how you can actually integrate some of these tools. I'm going to go in and do a demo. I'll let a few of you see more responses coming in. This is great. Perfect. Well, I'm going to can it there. So we have a lot of people using Planner, so I'm not going to do too much on Planner. I'll talk about it. We'll talk about Project for the Web and what's new, because that's probably, we'll talk about tasks for teams, and we'll get into some demo. So as far as our what we're going to do today, Based on those results, really we want to walk through and get you into this tool, but also from a persona perspective. So I'm going to jump in. I'll tell you what role I'm going to be, what tool I'm actually going to be in. But all of this can be brought into Teams. And if you lead heavy with purple, meaning the Teams platform, you can pull in almost everything that you said that you work in today. Now, it could be a manual import or a manual add, adding a task or doing something like that, a tab, excuse me, into your team. Or you can get actually a little bit more automated. I'm going to show you some of those automations today as we start going through. So, since the last one we had here with Microsoft, there have been some releases here. And so I just said March because I want to put a particular date on here. But here are some that I wanted to make sure that everybody using Project for Web today is aware of. But then also, if you weren't using Project for the Web because maybe it didn't have an assignment view or some of these other things, I want to make sure that you see them. And you can say, yep, great, at least I got that information. I can use it or I can share it with some folks. So we're going to be going into all of these. I'm going to actually switch my screen over here and we're going to jump into first project. And then we're going to go into more of that collaborative teams project area. Now, while I'm doing this, I think it was said a couple times already, but if you have any questions, go up to the Q&A tab. That's up top. And what you can do there is submit any questions. We have both Heather and Jeff, and I will be on here to answer any questions that you have. All right. So we're switching gears. I'm just pause here. I want to make sure I'm showing. I'm also going to do one thing as well, is I'm just going to pause my camera so I have some bandwidth for you all. There we go. Perfect. All right, so what are we talking about? New things in Project for Web. Perfect. Well, the first thing we wanted to talk about, look what popped up here. It says, hey, we got some things. You want to balance your workload, do a bunch of things, which is nice, but we're not going to do that now. I'm just going to go ahead and get out of there. So you said we were looking at Project Shock, but now we're looking at Teams. What figures? Well, I wanted to show you first of all that within Teams, a lot of when they're running project managers, when they're running projects or PMOs and they're saying, hey, we really need to get a tool out there, we always recommend use Microsoft, leverage it to its fullest. Take all the pieces of the puzzle and use Teams to serve that up. Not only do you have your calendars, your calling, your videos, everything that we're doing today, your activities, and all this good stuff, but you can start adding in your different apps. And we'll talk about some of those today. This one right here is what we're focusing on. So I do have Microsoft Project for Web open here, and I can go into some details, but I want to bring up even a bigger view so we can go ahead and see some of this. Let me see. All right. So there we go. Project for the web. All right. So the first things I want to talk about is advanced dependencies. Pretty easy, but if you haven't seen advanced dependencies, I can click on any one of these. I'm going to open it. I could very easily add a column in here to have my dependencies. And if I scroll down, we now have finish to start to start, and also finish to finish. So all four, similar to what you had in Microsoft Project. So that was a big enhancement that you personally didn't have before this month. Grid formatting, I'll talk about that. Let me show you what that is. I also just want to notice this right here. Add this to your project team. That's what I did over on the other side. So you actually got to see this within a team. Okay. So if you're in this tool and you want to add it, it's as easy as clicking a button. Okay. All this other stuff, pretty much basic out of the box areas. Right up here is what we were talking about, conditional coloring. If I go into conditional coloring right now, effort, right? And this is just something I did to show. So we can show over here. I just said, hey, if efforts in between, you know, 80 and 160, I want it to be orange and I want it over. That's because in our organization, we are doing sprints or different things by month. So what I'm saying here is if someone is at an effort level of over a month of full time, uh, and a task is going over that full time, I want to see that. So both. I want to see it at the task level. I also want to see it at the resource level. So first, at the task level, here we go. We got that conditional formatting, and that's using one of the new features called um, conditional conditional coloring. You also can, within our project, we can come in and we can do some um, work calendaring. So, what does that mean? That means that if I come in here again, I'll pop up one of these. Let me just make sure. Yep, good. We have resources and we have calendars. If I go into here, project details right now, name, etc., that's all fun. But if I scroll down now, we have this custom default work week, which would be there, or we can choose or add a particular template. So if you want to be able to, have, in this case, we want to work on Sunday. We don't work on Friday. Some organizations, right, have holidays, or sorry, their weekend starts on Friday and Saturday. They come back to work on Sunday. Others, maybe you just have an every other day. You get to choose. I will say this is for the entire project, okay? And you can go ahead and apply that. Once you do that, it's going to go ahead and apply over here as well. Down below, one more thing, resource calendars determines your group members' work. So this needs to actually be configured with Power App, but it's saying, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to base this on my resources calendars. So a resource, again, you can go out and use other things for resources with Microsoft, whether it's Active Directory, maybe it's Project Online, maybe it's another tool system, CRM. It doesn't matter what it is, but right here, we could pick those threads up again and show it within a Power App. We're going to have Power Automate, right, doing some of that. But again, check that box. If you need any more information on resource calendars, go check out my blog I did last week that talks all about all these new features. Lastly, um, this is the biggest one, I think, which is assignment view. So up top, we have the grid, the board that you know about and love, the timeline, the charts, which some people said they didn't see, but that's been around for a long, long time. And then you got these other things. The people one came about a few months back. So again, could be new for some of those folks. That's why I'm showing this. I can just drag this, drag something and assign it to Adele. But if you come over here and you hit assignments, so I'm going to wait so everybody can see this. You can back it up on the recording. But under assignments here, if I go into my assignments, I got to reload that. Oh, refreshing. Let me just make sure. All right. And I go to my assignments view. There we go. So now we can see that we have a Dell and mod admin. And I just noticed I clicked in a different project, but I'm going to continue on. So we have Adele, we have mod admin, and a bunch of different assignments here. You can either come in here and go to a specific date if you want to. You could say daily or weekly. So now this is going to drop in our weeks. And then you can see this by resource, or you can flip it. So really remember that resource usage view, or you could flip it to a task usage view or task view. Again, this would be by task. If I go back to my grid and I start pumping a bunch of different people in here, um, notice as I go through, I can add people not only here, but I also can come in and add in Megan. Where's Megan? Searching for Megan, but I could add in, there she is. I could add Megan in, and when I go ahead and do that, she can be added directly to this team. And you can also go in and add people directly through our groups this way and add them. Now, why am I mentioning groups? Well, I'm mentioning groups right now because what I just showed you are the updates for Project for Web in March 2023. They threw in a couple others, like the extended timeline zoom, so you can zoom in and zoom out a little bit better, great. And then the other one was they increased the task limit. So for those folks that need up to 1,000 tasks, now you can have 1,000 tasks in here. So I left off on group members. The reason why I was leaving off on that is this is the key. So when we do talk about our teams, okay, I'll go back over to my teams here. These are the groups that are going to be created. So everything comes back to that collaboration or integration with teams. Now, some of you are saying, How did you do that? Well, you remember in that project, I went down under project and said, hey, add it, go create a team for me. It will go off and create that team. Or you can manually do it. You can come up here and you can hit the plus. When you do the plus, you're going to go out and you're going to look for project right here. You can hit that button and follow the prompts through. So all of this, again, a nice easy way for you and your peers, your users to come in and create a project team in this case, and then have some information across the board. Now, we talked about Planner as well and a couple other things. So I do want to bring all this in to together. So if I go over to, let's say, Planner right now. So now I switch gears. I'm in Planner for those that use Planner. And you're going to see that I actually have some projects in here. And the way I did that was, so I'm looking right now assigned to me. So I'm looking at my hub, I'm looking at assigned to me, and I can see across this program, my Bay Plaza project, etc. I have a bunch of tasks assigned to me. I'm the mod admin. You're gonna say, great, we use Planner all the time. Okay, but do you use projects? And do you want your project to be connected to Planner? You can do this. So what we did here is we brought in this Bay Plaza project directly in from Project Online and pulled it into Planner. What that's going to do, not only will it allow you to, like I just showed, get you into teams and have that collaboration, but regardless of where I update this task, okay, whether I come into this task right here, another new task from Planner, nice little test demo, okay, and in Planner, whether I add people, okay, or update or anything I do here, it will be sent back to the project and vice versa. Anything, again, above the notes will be sent over. So all this area, with one exception, we don't bring over repeating tasks. So everything else. So this is where we're showing project and planner being synchronized. And then we'll show you, pull it back up into Teams. Now, a lot of people saying, well, why would you ever do that? Again, remember what we talked about personas at the top of the hour. This is by persona, but it's also by use case. You'd only want to do this if you're using Planner, okay, and your organization already using Planner, and you want to pull them. And if you could see me on camera, I'm doing like a tug of war, two-handed pull them into a little bit more project management. And we want to see a little bit more scheduling. We'd like some dependencies because you can't do dependencies in Planner. You have to do all that in project. Okay, so we knocked off planner. We took a look at the new thing, the new releases in project for the web. The other area in that grid up top was talking about tasks for teams. So I'm going to go back to teams. On the left-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and hit my ellipsis. I'm going to say right here, task by planner in teams. And now we're in. Folks, little serendipitous. We left off on Bay Plaza. I happen to be here as well. But before I get there, assigned to me. So again, what's assigned to me? A bunch of tasks. I get to see all these planner-esque, right, labels and comments and things like that. And then I actually get to come in here and see what projects we're working on too. So Bay Plaza, etc. So if I come into one of these Bay Plaza ones, I'll just say prepare and settle schedule. That's that same task fabric that you just saw that was over there. I'm going to let that refresh. Now, when I submit that, it's going to go back to my Bay Plaza and update all this. So again, when you're in Teams, regardless of how you're doing things, when you're over in your team app, again, through the ellipsis, hit my right here, task and team apps, you're going to see all tasks across many different tools, right? We pulled in from to-dos automatically out there, planners coming, and then anything you can get to planner is going to come into here as well. So meaning getting from project to planner, we'll get to teams. Now that's all on the delivery side. Now we start turning the wheel and we get into this fun thing called Power BI. Now I'm going to say, well, let's take a look here and look at um, right from here. You can have your report. So I'm going to switch over to another team called EPMO from a PPMO perspective, and you can start to look. Now, notice up here, not only do we have our timesheet status and posts and files and all that great stuff, but we do have something called reports. Now, what we're doing here is we're going to be pulling on Power BI, and we're going to be pulling Power BI in, and we're going to be seeing some of those reports. And yes, my screen just went blank too, so just give me a quick second to get that back up here. Now, these reports in Power BI are quite phenomenal. Not only are they going to provide you with the visibility that you need, but also it's going to provide you with really all the visibility that and the tasks that we've just been updating. And it looks like mine's just coming up right now. So here we go. Back into my Teamology here. Let's pull that in there. And let's get my demo back up. Okay. So we're left off on reporting. Now, Power BI, if you don't have it already, go to powerbi.com and you can log yourself in. It's going to have you log in. And once it does, if you have your organization has set you up for reports, you're going to be able to see things. The first thing that I'd like to say is if you're using Project for Web or Project Online for that matter, you can go get a free content pack. Okay, and that's coming up right now. It's a free content pack that's going to bring in all this reports in for you. So the first report on here that we're going to be taking a look at is a dashboard. There's my data. So we have variance information,
Hey,
we have
Jacques.
work. Yes.
You are not sharing. I don't know if you mean to be sharing right now.
Thank you, Heather. That would be
You are welcome.
that'd be much better if I'm sharing.
And there's a couple questions too in the chat when you get a chance.
Well, let's take the questions while I'm sharing. Do you want to read them or chat them up? Let me see here. Let me share first. We love questions.
The first question is, what is the difference between Project Online and Project for the Web?
Perfect. So Project Online and Project for Web they are two different tools that are out there. Project Online was an enterprise solution that's built on SharePoint technology. So that would be an enterprise solution. You use Project Standalone to connect through, and you really have a breadth of full PPM enterprise solution. Project for the Web is a more lighter weight and also more quicker response as far as the UI goes. So while you can do project management from management perspective, it really is the base to grow you into the Dataverse. So it is going to be the platform, the engine right here for all your scheduling that you're having to be done. Very easy drag and drop. Folks can really intuitively learn this versus what that project online, typically more of a project manager would need to know, or somebody with a little bit more project maturity would be in that solution.
All right, and the second question is every project for a web a Teams page, chat, or channel?
Great question as well. No, that's up to you. So when you're in Project for Web, when you come in here, you would need to, again, establish that connection. Once you do, then it will create that Teams. And when we say Teams page, I'm going to go further. It's actually creating, okay, in this case, you can create the team itself, and then you have channels underneath, and then you could actually have tabs that are up here as well. So again, if you want to create a tab, you could go in there and do that manually. If you hit the automation, it's going to go in and create that team for you. All right.
Those are all the questions.
Well, thank you, Heather. And thank you for letting me know now I can share these reports. So I was saying we were going to come in and we're going to get a content pack. So In this reports, I just want to quickly show you, you have a bunch of reports that come free out of the box for you. There's that same Bay Plaza. This happens to be a status report. It's going to be the consistent across all of your projects. You can go in here if you have expertise in Power BI and tweak or change any of this. But all you want to do is go onto our website. I think there's actually some key links here in a couple slides I'm going to show you that you can actually download this. But take a look all through here, whether it's the dashboard itself or it's detailed information that's coming, you can grab that information. Right before my screen went blank over there, I was showing you that we were in the EPMO, and I went up to my tab up top here and went into portfolio reports. That will bring that report pack that I just showed you into Teams. Again, trying to keep everything in that collaborative, connected team environment. The other area that I wanted to talk about is going in and taking a look at your different OKRs. You can do that through a bunch of different tools, but you also can use Viva Goals to track some of these. Now, for the purpose of time, I'm probably just going to talk about Viva Goals, but I can definitely show you a few things here afterwards if you want to stick around. But Viva Goals is going to be, again, use for strategic alignment with your given drivers. Now, let's go ahead and make sure I have plenty of time to get through some of those slides. And I do want to make sure that we give you all those hints that we're just giving you, as well as all of those links. And the last slide is that fun giveaway. So I'm going to switch back over to the slides here. Well, I do. If you do have any questions, please, pop them up through the chat. We'll make sure we answer all those. All right, so we got through, this comes up here. We got through the tool set. We walked through what was new. We did a quick demo on a collective collaborative environment. And then we started getting into some of not only the reporting and the likes of that, but got through it. A lot of people say, hey, that question about project, how do I get more information? What do I need to do? How can I get it for free? Well, it's just a trial, by the way. But you can go on to try project now, or you can reach out. Heather has put together a lot of different links here, and make sure you take a look at those that are coming up. Again, we already talked about questions and answers, so get those up. Jeff and I always like questions. You can reach out to us. I'm going to leave this on. You can take a quick snapshot of this, but I want to make sure that you do have the opportunity to reach out to us. We know a lot of folks, and also we'd love to get you into our networks. Maybe, you have a question for us and we can help you out, or simply, in the future, you never know. Our paths might cross. I want to again thank Jeff for joining us again here. Got a couple more slides and that giveaway. So here's one of those slides with the info at PPM Works. So make sure if you want to, we'll go off and send you some information. But if you have anything, I know some people have asked about copy of slides. If that doesn't get to you or you have a specific question, make sure you reach out to info at PPM Works. Now, in these slides that you'll receive, you'll be able to click on all of these links. One thing I do espouse to you and really recommend would be is go get onto our YouTube site. We have plenty of content up there. We try to weekly post something new out there. If there's something that you'd like or you haven't seen from Microsoft or want a little bit more depth in from either us or Microsoft, let us know. The only thing we can do is say, hey, go check out this link. It's already done, or we'll go ahead and do one for you. The project to planner syncing that I showed you was up here. The overview of Office 365 with Viva is in there, and a bunch of other good stuff that you folks can get to. I already did put a plug in here as well, but you can go off and subscribe to our channel. That's youtube.com/c/our name PPM Works. We also, by joining, and thank you folks for joining, your name is entered into, and Microsoft will randomly help us pick one of these, and we're going to give you an offer for a workshop. So that's where we come in with you and your organization. First, you figure out which area of expertise you'd like us in, and we can come in and provide you one of those workshops. Again, it's for qualified customers, And we do have different funding channels and programs through Microsoft to help those out. Again, on behalf of Jeff, Microsoft, the entire team here at PPM Works, I want to thank you for your time, all the questions. Have yourself a great evening, a good morning, or good afternoon. Have a great day.